Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the greatest podcast on planet Earth, bar none. And it's even a little bit better today.
Oh, why is that?
we've got a very special guest on today.
Right.
And we've had a lot of guests on this show.
Yeah.
Depending on when you listen to this or when this releases.
Soon.
But this one's a little bit different, I think.
Okay.
I think this person has come onto the platform and really made a bang. Made a real loud bang in an industry that I didn't even know needed a bang, but when I realized it,
It made perfect sense.
Yes, and this is you may have seen the brand. You might have seen it all over the place. This is the one and only Miss Shira from Gentsac. What's going on?
What an opening. Thank you.
It's okay. How you doing?
I'm good. I love setting up with you guys. I've had so much fun already. Yeah, I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thanks for having us in your beautiful, beautiful place, and we feel very, very lucky.
Yeah, we thought we'd switch it up a little bit. Like we tried a little table thing, Jada coming for you for that red table.
Yeah, Jada Pinkett.
Yeah.
Do you know, it's so funny. I've actually always wanted to do a round table. So we've got a round table.
Fate.
Kind of.
Kind of, yeah.
Manifesting this.
I mean, it's definitely a round table.
It is a round
table.
Objectively.
The table is definitely round. So
yeah.
But that's sick. I feel like this conversation, I'm really excited for it because I think that we have a lot of alignment.
We do.
That was such a great point, Femi. This is a round table.
Hey.
Fuck.
When she wanted a round table, I'm like, well.
People get to watch this, right? So
They can see the table.
Imagine having all this set up for no one to look at.
Hey, look, if you want to see how round this table actually is, jump on YouTube, and subscribe.
At Nick and Femi.
100%.
Yeah.
Boom, well.
That's crazy that we just spent 2 minutes talking about a table. But look, this conversation I'm really excited about because I think we have a lot of alignment and a lot of interesting things to talk about.
100%.
But first of all, before we get into that, I want to just have a little bit of a casual chat with Ms. Shira and let the people know a little bit about you, before we talk about real stuff.
Well, I was born in New York.
Yes.
To European background parents.
Mm-hmm.
I was raised in Bondi. I'm a singer-songwriter.
So you're guaranteeing a song at the end of this year?
You've asked for that. We'll see.
I have asked for that.
But now it's on
record.
Now it's on record. Uh-oh. Yeah, so I do that. I, pre-Gentsac, had a lot of experience in fashion and retail.
Yeah.
And about 5 years ago, came up with the concept that is Gentsac. And for those who don't know, it's a curation of beautiful men's grooming products.
Yes.
We've been referred to as the men's mecca, which is pretty cool.
Ooh, that's heaps sick.
That's sick.
It's pretty cool. So I'll take that. But the idea came out of, there being a gap in the market with really beautiful luxe grooming products for men, all in the one stop shop. And my secret mission has always been to support men in terms of, really good habits that make them feel confident. And I think that you achieve that through self-care and for men through grooming.
Yeah.
I guess my journey over time in terms of, my own life is that I've had experiences with anxiety and depression. So I really care about mental health.
Yes.
And I try to weave that into everything that I do.
Love that.
I think that my main MO is having conscious conversations.
Yeah.
I don't have time for small talk.
Yeah.
I love to laugh and I love to have a good time, but I really love to go there.
Yeah.
And I also care a lot about creating a safe space.
Yes.
And that's what Gentsac is. Gentsac is a safe space for men to come and say, I get ingrown hairs. How do I solve that? And to not feel weird about it. And that there's someone there that can educate them, show them the right product, make a really simple and easy routine. And so it's safe and it's easy and it's fun. And no pun intended with the name, but we have a lot of fun with it.
Facts.
Yeah.
But I think that the sick thing about Gentsac is like what I said in the intro, is it's not something that is front of mind that I need. But it's something that once you get there and you have it and you realize, how was I actually operating without it.
Yeah.
I love that.
And I think
So good.
that the perfect kind of like segue into it is just like with mental health. It's something that we take for granted. We think that we always kind of have. But then the moment that we actually prioritize it or we have it taken away, we then realize how important it actually is. So, you know, after that great segue, I want to ask you your first question.
Go for it.
What made you so, what's your own life experience that made you so deeply passionate about mental health?
I had some trauma growing up as a little girl, and I guess there comes a time in your adult life where you notice some patterns that aren't serving you.
Yeah.
And when that time came for me and I kind of trailed back, I had the awakening or the realization that it all came from mindset and my thoughts and my inner critic. And I also I did some therapy, and I realized that for a long time I'd actually been suffering depression. Like I was functioning, but I was actually suffering from that.
Yeah.
And it showed up in different ways. And it wasn't until I kind of really admitted that to myself that I started to explore, you know, what that meant. And so as I went on that journey, mine was blown.
Yeah.
And because I'm innately drawn to conscious conversations and creating a safe space, I was like, wow, I'm not even doing that for myself. So there was this massive disconnect. And I think that there is a lot of shame around suffering from mental illness or anxiety or depression.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest part to break through, is to start to say that you need some help.
Yes.
Or to go and actually do things, even privately, like going to therapy, that are going to support you. And when you go on that journey and you start to evolve and you see life through a different lens, I mean, I feel like I was meant to go through a certain amount of suffering so I can help others.
Right.
So I really care about shining a light on this topic so that anyone else who's suffering in silence doesn't have to.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that what you said was really interesting is like everything stems from your thoughts.
Yeah.
And we say this over and over again, but people don't actually realize how big that actually is, right?
Yeah.
Before any action is thought and before anything that happens, we need to think it for it to come true.
Yeah.
We have between 60 to 70,000 thoughts every single day.
Women have like 20,000 more than men, just FYI. That's a statistic. That's like a fact.
That's facts.
So like, ladies, when you look at your man and you're like, what are you thinking? And he says nothing, he means it.
I'm not lying.
Let me just do the maths on that real quick. Not on 60,000, right? So on average, the brain works way more than any other organ in your body. And if we're not putting enough emphasis, and if we're not putting enough kind of attention on that, where we do with our feet or with our hands or with even our heart, we care so much more about our heart. I'm not saying that the heart isn't important, but what I'm getting is that your brain is so active. It's far more active than anything else in your body. So it's so important that if we neglect that, it's not gonna serve us.
Totally.
And I think it's really, really good insight that you have, that everything comes from your thoughts. And I think it's really important that the listeners know how essential that is.
Yeah.
I love
it
that.
Absolutely is. I was saying to you when we were off camera, I feel like, you know, your mind is the lens in which you see the world.
Sure.
Yeah.
I believe there's a saying, what you think you become. It's very similar kind of.
Claim it. Sorry.
Yeah. But it's so true. And this is our most valuable asset.
Yes.
And we need to invest in that. And so what that gives us is empowerment to know that we actually have our own wisdom and our own power to choose how we show up and how we live in this world. So we can either, if we don't invest in our mind, like we were saying earlier as well, we can spiral and go down the wrong sort of path in the wrong trajectory, or we invest into our mind and our trajectory is suddenly looking so much brighter and it doesn't even take that long. Like one positive thought changes your entire day.
Yes.
So we got to cultivate practices that support that, right?
110%. Like Jim Quick always says, killing ants. So like ants is automatic negative thoughts. So it's about you need to consciously kill those ants. Otherwise, they're going to manifest, because the automatic response for human beings is to see negativity for whatever reason that is. That's just maybe it's a cultural thing, a societal thing.
Well, there are far more negative emotions than there are positive.
Exactly right. And I think that when that's manifested in the world as well, it's much easier to think negativity.
Yeah, 100%.
So I think that it's really important that we actively be like, okay, I recognize I'm having a negative thought, and just kill that ant and acknowledge that ant and move on from it, because the less that they are, easier life gets.
And I was even listening to a podcast. Sorry, Shira.
No,
I was even listening to a podcast with Jay Shetty just yesterday, actually, where he was talking about what we feed our thoughts, and that naturally, with like the way the world is nowadays, where we have access to social media, like news travels from across the country, we can access that in a second. And obviously the media know that, okay, if I headline it as something negative, we're automatically drawn to that. And it's so important that, just like when you were saying about killing your ants, it's also about what we choose to actually expose ourselves to. Because we actually have the ability to decide, okay, do I want to see this? What is it that I want to see when I wake up in the morning? How do I want to start my morning? Like, we're in complete control of all of that. And it's like what we always say, it's like, you know, like, depending on how you start your day kind of sets the tone for like the rest of your day.
100%.
And that's just something to really be conscious about and be like, okay, what is it that I'm actually consuming, and how is this actually showing up in my life?
And at Gentsac, we talk about habits of excellence. I think that really feeds into it.
100%.
So it's like, what are you doing when you first wake up? We talk about consumption, not just of food, but of media and of social media, and like filtering out the things that aren't going to make you feel good.
Exactly.
It's such a good basic thing to do. Yeah, absolutely.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I want to kind of take it back though. So you mentioned that you were going through a time when you realized that, okay, I have depression. How was that like? Like, how did you get to a point where you're like, okay, I realize I have this, let me take that step to do something about it? Because I think a lot of times, sometimes we're quite aware that this is going on, but the issue is that we're not really conscious enough to take that step because we don't want to face it, maybe the stigma or whatever it is that surrounds that. How did you kind of go with that process?
I think that I've always had, the one thing that I really feel like I've always had is this like deep connection to myself and this knowing that I'm going to be okay. I can't really say where it came from, but even in my darkest times, there was a voice that was loud enough to say you're going to be okay. And so that inner Shira looked after the not so okay Shira. And, you know, I kind of knew that I couldn't do this on my own, and I seeked out help. So my form of help was getting therapy, going to therapy. And that in itself is a process, because like I remember when I first went to therapy, I was like, everything's great. I'm good, because I'm such a pleaser. Like I showed up like life was perfect. She's like, why are you here? This defeats the whole purpose.
Still take the money down.
Well, it was a process.
100%.
And it is really about bringing the mask down and talking about the hard things. Once you say them though, they're actually not as scary. You take the power away. And then it's like, I think the other thing is at the core of any type of unhappiness or struggle is worthiness and like really feeling worthy. You know, I think for me, I got to a point where I was like, I deserve better. I deserve better than this. I deserve to feel good and to feel happy. What does that even look like? And so it was that self-exploration of like, what makes me happy? What, you know, what is that? I think that in this world, it's really easy to get caught up with social media and this and that. And if you don't have those habits of excellence, you can start comparing yourself and, you know, like, and on different levels, not even in a superficial way. You know, I don't have a relationship with my dad. So sometimes I would see someone with a dad and I would feel jealous and you know what I mean? Like it's things like that. And I had to do the work. And for me, it was about feeling worthy of like happiness, worthy of love, all of those things. And then also forgiveness, forgiving myself for any mistakes I'd made, forgiving anyone that had hurt me. Because there was a distinction I actually wanted to make earlier where you said, you know, we don't want to feed into the negative thought, but we want to acknowledge it. I think that's a really important distinction to make. So it's not just about being airy fairy, everything's great. Like actually healing and moving through things is acknowledging what's going on in the first place.
100%.
But then knowing you're going to be okay and going, what are the tools I need right now to get through this?
Yeah.
Is it reaching out to someone for support? Is it that my habits are not supporting my own mental health? And it's a process, like we said, and over time, it's all those things kind of pulled together. Yeah.
I think what you said had a lot to do with your surroundings and your environment and the people that you like support you. Do you know what I mean? And I think that I wanted to ask you, did you ever feel that when you're going through dark times or anything like that, did that affect any relationships or you know, like how was that like from a relationship standpoint? You know, platonic or romantic?
Yeah. Well, I think that I struggled to tell my friends the full extent of my suffering. And I think that that's quite common. Because I've been like a survivor since I was a little girl, right?
Yes.
So, and mix that with being a pleaser and this and that, and you just always want to put on a brave face. And this is my life's work, is kind of saying, I don't have everything together and asking for that support. How it played out in like romantically, I was in a 10-year relationship. I separated from my partner a year ago. And I think that, you know, we mirrored each other. So I met someone who was equally going through that stuff, and we actually helped each other heal a lot. But like I said before, the way in which you think is the lens in which you see the world. It's the same with where you're at in your life. You end up attracting people at a similar point. And so we struggled. That was like a struggle for us because we didn't yet have the tools in our communication to know when we were triggered or to know that we were in fight or flight or, you know, so going to therapy really helped with that because then we could break it down and like mid-argument, we'd be able to go, oh, this is what's going on right now. And that really supported us. And interestingly then, as we evolved and moved through that, we were actually realized we were no longer compatible.
It's crazy.
We were still best friends. So we had a beautiful conscious uncoupling, so to speak. And you know, we'd come kind of full circle. We'd healed things together in our relationship of 10 years, but it certainly played out. And I'm also a big believer that, you know, mistakes or stories will repeat until you're ready to learn the lesson. It'll show up in different ways, but same, but different. Until you're ready to learn the lesson.
Oh my goodness.
So it took 10 years in our relationship, but that's cool. We came out smiling. But it was rocky times sometimes.
I love that. I'm just taking a second to take that in because that was fantastic. And you see that all the time. Even with my own life, I see that over and over and over again. Why the same fuck ups are happening. And especially romantically as well. I think that we make a lot of mistakes in that area because it's, you know, it's such an important part of our lives. And to see that happening over and over again is really, really interesting. I think that fuck.
And it's also the stories we tell ourselves. So this is why going back to like our inner critic or our thoughts, it's so important to have that deep connection to self and to cultivate self-love and to cultivate like being your own best friend because then you develop like an awareness where you can hear that thought and go, I hear you, but you are not driving the car today. You can sit in the back seat. Doesn't mean you're going to go away. But that's okay. Like I can still have a conversation with you. I acknowledge that you're there and I'm going to make a different choice.
I love that. I think that's a perfect breakdown of what you're saying because it's just like what another one of our guests said is like, it's not about mind control, controlling your thoughts. It's more just about acknowledging them and seeing them and kind of picking which ones you want to dictate your life. I think the guest that we had was saying that thoughts are like clouds. They're constantly going, but you get to look at every cloud, but you choose which one you think that you want to accept into your life at that point.
Absolutely.
I think that that's the biggest thing with, like, people think mental health is like this big overarching kind of clinical trend. But in reality, it's not. It's more
it's
just
a baseline.
it's mental, it's everyday fitness.
Yeah.
It's so essential, and being able to understand that about your thoughts, because I mean the easiest way to understand it is like thinking about your thoughts. So powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really love the point where you're saying it's like you acknowledge that these negative thoughts are there, but it's whether I choose to let it take control or not is the biggest game changer. Because I think a lot of people think that thoughts just go away and then you've automatically moved forward and now I'm just positive, whatever. But it's like, no, like I've made the difference. I've made the change. I've done the work, the 100%. Mental fitness to actually be able to overcome these thoughts and not let it dictate me or let it become who I am type of thing, which I think is a very, very powerful note that you mentioned.
Yeah. And mental fitness is like, what you said is very important because mental health is not this, and we're saying this off camera, it's not this reactive cure.
Yeah.
When shit goes bad, fuck, let me see a therapist.
Yeah.
Or, you know what I mean? It's really about an everyday process and a fitness thing to get better. Because when shit gets hard, you can't start trying to pull at something that you didn't work on.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
It's like if you're an athlete and your dream is to make it to the Olympics, you can't rock up against Usain Bolt and say and start to like try harness, start doing push-ups and shit, trying to think that you're gonna get there, because it's not gonna happen. You're gonna get smoked.
Exactly.
And it's the exact same thing when shit gets tough if you haven't done the work.
Absolutely. It's such a good analogy, and absolutely you got to do the work.
That's it.
It comes from, like I said to you, I had that awakening. I think that the first step is awareness.
Yeah.
And how do we cultivate more awareness so that we see those clouds rather than those clouds just happening or those thoughts just happening? Because so many of us that don't cultivate self-care or like mental health practices are like caught up in anxiety and all these thoughts and frantic and this and that, and they can buy into whatever they see at any moment. And actually what we need is our own rituals and routines. That is our baseline that gets us to a place of peace and joy and calm. And that way when those negative thoughts and emotions come up, we can actually witness them.
Exactly.
I love what you said about routine, because routine is so essential for mental health. People don't realize it. Routine like promotes self-confidence. It promotes consistency. It promotes so many things that are essential for you to be able to feel more in control of your mentality. And the moment you take away routine, it promotes chaos and disorganization. Which is what brings anxiety. The lack of not knowing what's going on. You know what I mean? Like you feel like you don't know what's happening, and that's what makes you frightful. That's what makes you scared. So that's why I also love Gentsac, because it's like when you have those routines, you feel so much more sure in yourself in what you're doing. And like honestly, I'm not even saying that, but I actually love my sack.
I
really do. Like I really do. I use it every single day.
So good.
And I think that it has really made a big difference in just the way that the way I feel in that area now.
That's so important. That's what I wanted to ask you actually to move on, because like obviously you're big in the men's health space, and I think it all kind of started. I remember we were sharing this a couple months ago or something. You were talking about self-expression, and that you felt that as soon as you, with your ex-partner, you were doing a little bit of facial care, and you saw the swagger change, the way his demeanor changed, the swagger and the confidence, which is really important. So like, you want to share how that all kind of went about?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so because we were together a long time, and it kind of got to a point where like really exciting presents were like out the window, and I was actually curating like kits for him. So I would get cute undies and socks and moisturizer and this and that. And he had a swag when he moisturized. And he said to me, I feel so much more confident when I look after myself. At the time, he was like almost 30. So he was like, I'm turning 30. I don't want to use like average stuff from Woolies or a chemist. And I really love it when you gift me this, because it's practical. I can use it and I feel good about myself. So that was really the catalyst for the concept. And I saw then the distinction, like how important it was for self-care in terms of his confidence. For me, witnessing it was equally as important as him eating right, sleeping well, going to the gym. Like it was on that level. And yet out there it wasn't. Like it wasn't a thing yet. Most people thought I was crazy and they didn't think grooming was going to be a thing. But we were really fortunate that when the Gentsac concept was born, it was actually just at the beginning of the whole beard evolution. And so we got to ride that way.
It's tough, bro.
No one knows what he's
Why?
talking about. But I know, ignore me.
Is it because you don't grow a beard or no?
I don't, but it's
I didn't say it. Yeah, I'm
No,
telling you
because
now.
it's a thing.
I'm
It's a
telling you
thing,
right
but
now. I'll say right now, live, so you know I'm not a hater. I'm telling you, when Nick grows a beard, he's gonna have the freshest beard in the clique. No cap. I said it because
Nah,
yo,
I
I'm telling
will.
you will.
I will.
Your brother's got a crazy beard. If your beard grows like your brother, then
Do you
When we're the
try to
freshest
grow
guy.
it?
No, not really. Like, it's never
Okay.
been something that I really cared about. These guys make it a big thing to me.
But
like,
it's not a big thing. That's the thing. Like,
Yeah.
So you can either. I see it.
I didn't say nothing, bro. Having a beard isn't that big of a thing. It's
Well-
more about the ability to be able to grow.
Stop it.
bro,
Gentsac is a safe space. If you can't grow
That's
a
it.
beard, we've got
It is what it
epic
is, you
shave
know.
products.
that's what it is.
Yeah, it's all about keeping tidy and doing you, right?
Yes,
So you don't
yeah.
need to be anyone else but you. Don't
That's
listen
facts,
to him.
bro.
That's
He's
it.
just playing anyway.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
jealous. Yeah,
But
it's all bad.
Why not? I'm joking.
don't. But yeah. So yeah, and it is all about feeling good, right?
yes.
So I was saying to you guys when you came and visited in the store that I absolutely love curating beautiful products that are like made with men in mind. They smell good, they look good in your cupboard, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, it's actually just doing the thing, like setting aside that 5 minutes to wash your face in the shower, moisturize, look after your beard, shave, whatever it may be, that afterwards you're like, I did that thing and
Yeah.
now I feel good because I invested in myself. And
Yes.
it's like that kick in your step that you get when you walk out of the gym or when it's
Yeah.
all on the same level. And this
Yeah,
is, as my 18-year-old staff member Wilbur says, this is your moneymaker.
Yeah.
We got to invest in it, right?
110%.
I have a face, you have a face. Why
Yeah.
is it normal for women to look after their skin and not for men? This has always been my question. Skin is in, ladies and gentlemen,
Skin is in,
for
man.
gents.
I love that.
So yeah, so we care a lot about that.
100%, man. Skin is definitely in. I like
Yeah.
that. I just came up with a great slogan. Skin is in.
Bro, that's
I just said that.
Yeah, don't copyright it. Yeah. Be your own slogan, Shira. Come on.
It's literally on our window at work right now.
Nah, honestly, I think that you have a lot of value and a lot of wisdom. And especially like that brand is so essential for men's health that people don't see. It's not an obvious kind of direction or alignment. But when you actually think about it, it's like, yeah, that's a perfect combination.
Yeah.
And I love that. I really do love that.
Thank you. I mean, that's why we use the hashtag habits of excellence.
Yes.
Because we had one of the editors from GQ, Christopher Riley, who
Yeah.
came to our 2-year birthday in November a few months ago. And one of the questions we asked him was, what does habits of excellence mean to you? And he said, it's the habits you do when no one's looking.
Yeah.
I loved that so
Yeah.
much.
Yes.
And so that's why mental health is number one. That's why mental health is on par with grooming, with cultivating a good sleep routine,
yes.
with what you eat, with all the things. It's all the things that make you feel good.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking about this the other day too. I was like, well, what does mental health mean to you guys? Like, how would you define it?
I think mental health is, in terms of my own personal mental health, I think mental health is the state of being. I think it's the way that you operate and your perspective. I think that from a very, very general kind of thing is, I think it's your state of being and your health of that.
Beautiful. Exactly, right? So I would agree with that. And then I asked myself, so what am I seeking in my state of being? What do I seek in my state of being? I seek peace. I seek joy.
Yeah.
Like, these are all the things I want to feel so that when I show up, that's the place I'm coming from.
Yeah.
So it's cultivating habits that make me feel peaceful and joyful and bright and beautiful.
Love that.
And so that means waking up and meditating and journaling and acknowledging difficult thoughts or acknowledging a dark cloud. If I wake up and I have a tendency to like be a little off that day, it's noticing and going, today's one of those days.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, today we need to journal, we need to work through it.
Yes.
Gonna do some extra self-care, a little bit of a mask.
Yeah.
You know, we're gonna feel good. And then I get to show up at work. everyone around me benefits.
Yeah.
So when you do that, you're not only investing in you, literally all your relationships benefit, your work benefits, everything you want to achieve in life benefits from that.
That's so good. I really love that, like the energy that we express and how other people can feel it. Like it's not just all about ourselves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like how is the way I show up, how does it actually impact and influence other people as well? And that's kind of like a good trend that we can send just on self-expression, doing those little rituals and habits and routines and really presenting ourselves the way that we want to present in the world, which is amazing.
Yeah, I kind of want to reframe, you know, a lot of people think of self-care or even grooming as like vain or as selfish when you're looking after yourself first or all these things. Actually, it's a really generous act when you take that time to look after you, because you can give so much more from a full cup.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. I think that goes on to the point, I think you were saying in the beginning of the call about feeling worthy. I think sometimes a lot of us have the tendency to feel like I don't feel worthy to kind of like take care of myself or dedicate those 5-10 minutes to myself to actually like, you know, present myself well. It's like, so I remember I was having this conversation with someone a couple of days ago, and it was like, we were just talking about going to the gym and like exercising and stuff. It's like, oh, I don't really want to invest in myself because I don't feel like I'm worthy of it. There's so much other things going on right now, which is like, I feel like I need to give that attention. And it's selfish for me to be doing that for myself, which I think it's really not the case. Like it's actually so important to actually invest in yourself. And when we do invest in ourselves, we're not even investing like 15, 20 hours. It's only like a couple of minutes.
Yeah, that's all it takes.
To present yourself as the person, the woman or the man that you actually want to be in this world, which I think was very interesting when I had that conversation with someone. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. That's a great conversation to be having, because we definitely want to reframe that. Yeah. It is not selfish to look after you.
Yeah. I think the awareness though is really key though, because at least they were able to acknowledge that and be like, okay, like this is how I'm feeling, and how can we reframe that? How can we revamp that?
Beautiful.
100%. I think that, and this is what we always talk about, like whenever we do keynotes or whenever we talk with clients, it's always that's a consistent theme of why people don't actually take care of themselves. Is a lot of the time is unconsciously they don't realize that they don't value themselves.
Yeah.
Because the same way that if you had like a brand new car that will cost $150,000, you're not saying that you don't have 5 minutes to polish it, or to clean it, or to put the right petrol in it, or to make sure that it's running optimally, because you have huge value on that directly. But the moment that you have like a $50 car from Kmart, if you can find
one. If you get $50 car from Kmart,
like a $50 car from your uncle, your dodgy uncle, you know what I mean? You're not washing it for months. You're not doing any of that.
Yeah.
It's because the value is different.
100%.
Totally.
So the moment that we're able to be aware of how amazing we actually are, then we'll value ourselves. Yeah. And then we'll be able to go to the gym, make sure that we're taken care of, do our skin routine, do all those things, because it's a direct reflection of the value that we place on ourselves. So
totally.
Yeah, man.
We're in a really exciting time though, right? Because we're having this conversation.
Yes.
And so there's a lot of work to do. Like we have a lot of work to do. We're the generation that gets to make this, that gets to shine a light on this conversation. I lead from a place of compassion when I think about the people that haven't yet woken up to this, because for a long time, information about this wasn't accessible.
That's right.
And we live a very privileged life.
Yeah.
So if we've learnt the lesson, it's literally we need to be of service and share what we're learning and shine a light on this topic. It's really important. There's a lot of work to do because, if there's still people questioning that or uncertain when we talk about it, it means we've still got to keep like waving the flag and get it to a point of it being totally the norm. And I think the other thing that's new is sometimes I talk about self-love and I get really funny looks. Like the idea of us loving ourselves is not kind of common language.
Yes.
But how can we ask to be loved if we can't love ourselves?
Exactly.
Right. And that's same as worthiness and all of that. And it's not an easy transition when you haven't been brought up to think like that.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it's like the heart of everything that we do. We must see that we are such worthy beings. And from that place, all good follows.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when we can do that for ourselves, then we can start to do it for others.
Yes.
Exactly.
And I really hope that this podcast is doing that
Yeah.
and allowing people to. We're not here to. I think that's important to just like put out there. We're not here to like feed hypey bullshit. But I think it's really important to just be aware of how amazing we actually genuinely are.
Yeah.
Each and every single person is 100% unique and has their own talents and trends and beauty about them. That the moment that we're just aware, it's not even about, you know, being arrogant. It's just awareness of your beauty.
Yeah.
Then you'll be able to act different and be able to see yourself differently. Because if you don't know how great you actually are at something or who you are, you're not going to act like you're great.
100%.
Yeah.
So it's that self-awareness piece that's really, really essential.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Agreed.
Definitely.
Agreed. I think Rumi also has a saying which is the beauty you see in me is reflected in you, or something along those lines. But basically, we're all mirrors. So if you see something in someone that is really amazing, it means it's within you.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we just want to like acknowledge that in each other. And if that was the norm, like if we could lead with kindness, this world would be a much happier place.
Yeah.
But it must start with having kindness and compassion for ourselves.
Yeah.
That's where it starts. You know, so I think that is why those practices are so important, because we are human. We will wake up, we will have some negative thoughts, but if we can then like break them down and literally respond to ourselves as if we were talking to our best friend, because I would never put my best friend down. If she came to me with a problem, I wouldn't go, yeah, you're right, you suck. Like, but we do that with ourselves.
Me. That's actually insane.
I really hope Nick goes back and listens to this, because
even our videographer's like, whoa, that's insane. For you to come out of your mouth.
Anyway,
Yeah.
110%.
We need to be kinder to ourselves, and then we
Yeah.
can be kinder to others, and then it'll be
100%.
mirrored right back to us.
That is so important. Self-forgiveness is so essential.
Yeah.
'Cause that's the guilt that eats us. It's
Yeah.
the guilt that eats us that makes us upset and doesn't want to take action, or we don't want to be like, oh, I shouldn't have fucked up on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I shouldn't be feeling like this. I should be able to get out of bed.
Yeah.
I should be able to help my family.
Yeah.
Should. And
This is the work though. So
that's
like
the
we're
work.
having this conversation because we're meeting at a place where we've all done a certain level of work and we can have this conversation. This is the work. So, you know, we need to show up and do that work. And this is not just like airy fairy, one day you wake up and you cultivate these habits. Like it takes discipline. And but that is what comes from the worthiness piece. It's like I deserve to feel better. So I'm gonna do the work.
It's so intertwined. You know what I mean? Self-awareness will allow you to be self-forgiving. Self-forgiving will allow you to realize your self-worth. And it just keeps it's
going,
and then
such a
that's
beautiful
your
thing.
experience of life.
Yes. Oh, I love this. I feel so happy.
Juicy.
I feel ocean
See,
blue,
this is what I mean. I seek that peace, I seek that joy, and we can when we talk about it.
And I feel it. Like I actually genuinely feel it.
Yes.
You know, even just the way you talk and the way like your tone and everything, just like at peace.
That's nice.
And it's good.
Thank
I really
you.
like that.
Very zen. Like
I
it.
get that a lot. It's so
Very
funny.
zen.
Very zen.
I don't see myself as zen because I feel like there's a lot going on.
No, but you really like, I don't know, you can almost feel like you're like walking on clouds. Like, you're very, like,
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's
very,
nice.
very zen.
Day made. Love that.
Well, look, man, I think that's been a really great chat. Anything else you want to talk about?
I think we've covered a lot, which is super, super valuable. And I think that from the listeners that listen to this podcast, there's a lot of things that they can kind of extract. But the biggest thing that we always say is that it's all well and good to receive information and hear it out. But if we don't take any action, we don't implement, or we actually reflect on our lives, then we're not going to see any changes, any difference. And as we always say, like you were just saying, like you deserve to feel different. You deserve to actually have that change and implement that into your life. So it's like, it's all here, baby.
Yeah.
Do the work.
Do the work.
What are some 3 takeaways that any listener can take from this podcast? Because I'm a big believer in like bite size.
Yes.
So what are 3 takeaways we think they can take away from this chat?
I think number one, sorry, not to cut you off. Number one is number one is self-awareness.
Yeah.
I think that's where it all stems from, because I feel like the information piece that we've said is out there, and we know that we need to do certain things to feel better.
Yeah.
But the how is really essential, and I think the how is through trying to be self-aware through journaling, reflection, all those things that we talk about every single day
100%.
is so important. Second is removing the guilt for me, self-forgiveness, removing the guilt. And then the third is being able to actively and consciously destroy those kind of, acknowledge and then move away from those negative thoughts. Those were my big things.
I love how you reworded that.
Yeah.
I love how you caught that and reworded that. Yeah.
100%. For me, I think the biggest one is, like you're saying, is with habits and routines and rituals. Because you were saying that if we don't have any habits, we don't have any rituals that we can attend to when no one's looking, then it's so easy to be pinballed, it's so easy to be disorganized, and it's like things can just become chaotic. So I think that's a really, really big takeaway. And I think it's something that's easy for people to implement. It's just to be like, okay, let me spend a moment just to kind of reflect on some of the things that I want to be doing, and really just make a conscious effort to be continuously doing it. And then it will come to a point where it forms a habit, which I think is beautiful. The second thing is the feeling of worthiness. I think that's imperative. It's like just feeling like I actually deserve. And I think a good way to actually start feeling quite worthy is through having a strong morning routine with a moment of gratitude and a moment of affirmations to really affirm how solid we are as human beings. I think that's absolutely incredible. And that's what really helped me, because I was at a point where I didn't really feel worthy. I didn't know how to have these feelings of love, all those kind of things. But until I started doing affirmations and be like, you know what, I deserve it, and truly, truly believe in it, that's when you were able to I'll start to believe it and start practicing it. And the third one I'd have to say is the grooming and self-care and self-confidence allows you to self-express yourself in such a strong way that other people are going to be able to see and resonate with.
Yeah, investing in yourself.
100%.
Skin's glowing, bro. Did you use
did a little bit of that in the
what's it
shower?
called? Tiger
Lucky
bomb,
tiger.
whatever. I was like,
Tiger, yeah.
Lucky tiger face.
Lucky
wash.
tiger
That's what
face
you
wash.
guys-
Yeah.
You can tell you're shining, bro.
Gotta hydrate too. When you cleanse your face, make sure you hydrate.
After?
Yeah, you moisturize after you wash your face. Yeah. If I was to keep things super simple, takeaways for anyone listening, cultivate daily habits of excellence. It doesn't have to take a lot of time, but you need some non-negotiable as your anchor that you do every day. Even if it's only 5 minutes of meditation, 5 minutes of journaling, whatever it is that can allow you to bring awareness and a connection to yourself. And then you can acknowledge what's really going on with you, address it, set some goals, and take inspired action.
Yes. Perfect.
They're my takeaways.
I love that.
I love talking to you, Shira. I think it's been sick.
Yeah.
It's so much fun. So
Thank
look,
you for
let
having
me
me.
ask you 5 rapid fire questions, which we do with every single guest we have.
Yes.
1 answer, 1 word, 1 sentence max.
I didn't know about this. Okay. Go.
Caught
Keep
you
you
off
on your
guard.
toes, you know what I mean?
You thought it was over. That's why I'm like, let me get over. Let's start next.
She's better get up. Sit back down. What you need?
Oh my gosh.
I bet. Number 1.
What's your favorite movie?
Ooh. Oh man, that's really tough. What's my favorite movie? Okay, an old one is The Lion King. Love The Lion King. It's like a cartoon.
I mean, look, it's an answer, but
I don't know. Pretty Woman.
Let's just move on.
No, I
I don't watch a lot of TV.
Okay.
Yeah, you did tell us that. Yeah.
That's crazy. Nah, Lion King's dope. It's classic. It is.
It's a classic. It's a good story.
Live the king.
It's a good story.
You don't know.
No, I'm just talking about your reenactment.
No, but you don't know that excerpt when Mufasa Scar lets go of Mufasa. He's like, "Long live the king," lets him go, and he falls and shit. Anyway, moving on.
I also really love rom-coms, but I can't think of one right now. So that's how much of an impact they made.
Bang.
Anyway.
Number 2's favorite travel destination.
I recently went to Bali, so that's front of mind.
Did you?
I mean, I love New York. I was born
Wait,
there.
when'd you go? Recent.
Okay.
Coronavirus.
No. I went to how recent to New York or Bali? Which one?
Well, you said you
said
went
Bali,
to
right?
Bali, right?
Bali was in Jan. I did.
That was a few months ago.
Bali was in
I'll
Jan.
come a bit closer to that.
Yeah, Bali was in Jan. It was beautiful. I had a really good time there.
Awesome.
I don't.
What's the third one? What is your favorite
item?
Yeah,
it is. What's your favorite item? Can't be your phone or laptop or whatever. It's like an actual physical item.
Ooh.
Or people or that.
My jewelry is always like quite meaningful to me. So like I feel like these pieces, like this was from my mom and this I bought for myself at a certain time. So I feel like it would be that or my yoga mat. I really want to say my yoga mat because I love doing yoga.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
it. And what's the most attractive quality in someone?
Kindness.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And last one, what is your number one tip and advice for life?
Be yourself. Learn what that means. Love yourself.
Ooh,
learn what
love
that
that in the
means.
second part. Learn what that means.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
And we're always learning.
That's it.
That's amazing.
That's our life's journey.
Yeah.
Really, is to show up as ourselves, right?
Yes. I love that. Okay, so I guess there's only like one thing to do left, right? And what's that little thing that I want to say?
What do you-
that thing.
You singing? Yeah.
Oh no, we didn't say we were gonna do that. Do it. Okay, will you guys sing with me?
100%. Yeah, we'll come on. Yeah.
What are we gonna sing?
You choose.
this
Not only
is
please, man. We're doing
Cool,
so well.
this is so impromptu.
doing so
By the way,
well.
I'm not warmed up.
It's okay.
Isn't that water?
What?
No.
Yeah, take a little sip of water.
Aye.
Do you guys have like a favorite karaoke song or what's a
You
go-to?
can pick any song you like. We'll sing it if we know the words. Even if we don't.
Oh,
we'll sing it.
you're really putting me on the spot here.
Come on.
Do you guys know? I know what used to be an old favorite karaoke song was "Killing Me Softly."
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Do you know it?
Yeah, 100%.
I'm literally, my heart is beating out of my
I know. I
chest.
can see
Yeah,
it. I
you're
can see
nervous.
you're nervous.
Actually,
Hey, she looks
I
under
can see what you're
pressure.
She was trying to palm it on us.
Yeah,
Do you guys know this?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
We got it under
I can't believe you actually asked me to do this.
We got you. Come on.
Okay,
You ready?
just a cappella.
Acapella and then we'll harmonize with you. You start and then we'll harmonize with you. Go.
Okay, I need like a
Go.
strumming my pain with his fingers, singing my life with his words, killing me softly with his song,
Killing me softly with his word, telling my whole life with his words, killing me softly with his
I love how you guys have my back to say.
Yeah,
Awesome.
You know it's gonna leave y'all.
No, we got you. We got you.
There
We
we
got
go.
you.
We did it. We did it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that has been the best episode of Uncovered. Honestly, that was sick. That was sick.
That was so good. And honestly, Shira, like, thank you so much for like just coming and just being your true, authentic self. Like, that's always what we always ask for every guest and every person, so that our listeners can really, really, truly resonate with that. And I really think they will in this
Thank
episode.
you.
So really, really
I loved
appreciate
every
that.
minute.
100%.
So good. You guys are going to do great things. I just want to acknowledge both of you because I think you are being of service. I think it's such an incredible topic to raise awareness about. So I'm pumped for what you're doing, and I'm really excited to see who else we get to, listen to on the podcast. Anything I can do to support.
Yes.
I'll take you on that. No, but thank you so much. Really appreciate that.
Pleasure.
This was another episode of the Uncovered podcast with Nick and Femi. So
Yes.
to all our listeners, like I always say every week, please like, comment, share. Leave a review. Most important. I swear to God.
Yes, definitely.
See how tight is saying it? Bro, leave a review. Stop just viewing it. Review it.
No, but because honestly, like I want to be able to hear what you guys think because like we
100%.
always say, like I want to be able to talk to you guys. It's like this is what I think is important, but like if there's someone that's listening and feels that, I want you guys to touch on this, then I'd love to be able to do that and really make some action.
Because sometimes we have a lot of knowledge, obviously, right? And then sometimes we don't know. We don't know what's gonna hit you at your point in your life.
Yeah.
So it's really important that you guys let us know, and if you guys are all saying the same thing, then we can touch on that, and I think that's really important.
Totally. Yeah, you guys need the feedback from the audience of what they want to hear. And also, if you really got some value out of this podcast in order for it to sustain, then those reviews are so important.
Absolutely.
So definitely leave your reviews. 5-star.
Oh yeah, if you don't leave a review 5 stars.
Hey, if it's not 5 stars, just DM me privately and let's have a conversation.
We'll sort it out.
Like, if you're leaving a 2-star review, that's a DM.
No, that's a deal. Don't be silly.
And if anyone wants to hear from me in terms of this conversation, they can find me on Insta.
Yes.
I'm always really happy to share my thoughts or my experiences.
What's your handle?
Yeah,
life.of.shira.
love that.
Awesome.
And what's Gentsac?
It's Gentsac, Gentsac. No pun intended.
A little bit of a
But
pun.
we have a bit of fun.
Well, the fellas, you got to get your skincare on fleek.
I'm
You'll be
shining.
shining.
The way Nick's shining right now is crazy.
Shining.
Yeah, and see how happy they are? It makes a really great gift for the guys. So good. Yeah, I love that. Thank you for embracing Gentsac and everything we're about as well.
It was crazy. Like, honestly, I'm not even gassing you. Like, before we went there, we were a bit like, what is this? Then we got there, we're like, this is dope.
Yeah, it's dope.
Like, it's so dope. And I went home, I used it straight away. Like, it's actually really, really good. So, and, you know, we're not very airy-fairy guys, but we really, really like fuck with it. And that's real. For sure.
So good. Thank you.
Yes, sir. But
awesome.
Follow us on Instagram at Nick and Femi, or if you want some real sauce at Neezy, 4 E's with an underscore.
And if you want even more sauce than that, yes, sir. at Who's Femi. And if you want to get out our videographer, you know, shout out to our boy at FSA_11 at Do-Rag Kitchen.
Let me give him a little plug. You guys need to check out the Do-Rag Kitchen.
Honestly, man.
Because honestly, Freddie, come in.
Just come in real quick.
Come in. Oh my gosh. He's doing it.
This is an uncovered
podcast.
Exclusive. Talking to
the mic. Look at he's gonna have a lot of issues, but you get
your boy FSA the Wavy Baby. Follow me at the Do-Rag Kitchen. You see the best flavors you've ever seen in your whole goddamn life. And you already know the vibe.
Yes, sir. On some real talk, like this guy, like even though he's so bad at videoing stuff, he's probably one of the best chefs we've ever, like, out of all the boys, he's the best cook.
I did not know that about you, Frederick.
But he's also very hood, so that's why it's called the Do-Rag Kitchen. So, like, if you guys want some flavors, that's all.
and some sauce.
And if you want to send him some tips on how to do behind the scenes, by all means.
Yeah. If you're actually good at videoing stuff, like, please send him some tips, and he'll give you some recipes in exchange. Yeah. So. But honestly,
ladies and gentlemen, peace and love.
Laters.